All right, so you're getting ready to take your first unit test here in 5th grade, and our unit test is going to be over units 1 and 2. So to make sure that we have our best thinking on our paper and we're accountable for everything that we're looking at, I would like you to first take your paper and fold it into a hot dog. Just like this. Then I'm going to let you take your hot dog and fold it in half. And fold this piece, this smaller piece, in half one more time. And boys and girls, if you fold it differently, that is fine. I'm just trying to create some invisible lines to kind of keep you in your boundaries. Okay, so when you unfold that, you should end up with a paper that has 8 pieces on the front and 8 places for working on the back. All right. And so the first thing that I'm going to want you to do, because everybody's going to need to turn in their record sheet today, you're going to write your name. So your name will go in this first box. And right underneath that, I want you to write whose class you're in. So if you are in Mrs. Barlow's class, you would put Barlow. If you are in Miss Jack's class, you would put Miss Jack, or McGee, or Mrs. Cartwright, or Delancey, or Miss Graff, or even Mrs. Vermillion. Whoever your teacher is, I want you to write your name there. And then if your teacher has assigned you a number, I do want you to put your number on your paper. Okay? And so after you have your number, I do want you to go ahead and put today's date. Today is 9/27/2023. All right, now we are ready to get started. So wherever you want to start, if you want to start number 1 here, or if you want to start it here, it doesn't matter. Just as long as you have some record of where you're putting your work. So when you open up your test in a little bit, you're going to see number 1. Number 1 is going to be a GMA problem. And so to make sure that we're writing it correctly, we're going to write it together right now. So we have number 1 is going to be 3 times brackets 45 minus 2 parentheses 7 closing brackets. So after you get that written down on your paper, the first thing that we always do is we always write GMA out to the side. And then we're going to count our actions, 1, 2, 3, so we know how many lines for solving. 1, 2, 3. Okay? And so that will help us be able to find our answer for number 1. I'll see you back for, actually I'm just going to go ahead and keep recording. Number 2, we're going to be doing a little bit of comparing. And so to make sure that we are comparing correctly, we're going to build a little table. Now if I write too quickly for you, you can pause the video and then you can unpause it when you're ready or have caught up. But we are keeping track of 2 things in our table. One of those things is going to be the student's name, so I'm going to put S for student, and the other thing will be the distance they're traveling or they're moving. Okay, and we actually have 4 students that we're keeping track of. So if you need to make more room because you didn't draw your box big enough, that's okay. But your box should be enough for 4 students. All right, so we have our first student, and we're going to go ahead and write his name down. I'm just going to write the abbreviation R, and we have 24.7. And since I do see some decimals in this, I'm going to go ahead and line up my decimals right now. Remember, when we line up our decimals, that helps us think about our t-shirt. Okay? We have some other students that we need to record. So we have G, I think that is Gia that we're talking about. 24 and 78. Okay. Then we have, I believe it's Kaya. I could be mistaken. 24.75. And then we have this person, I believe it may be Daniel in our story, and 25. Okay? So when you get to number 2, you'll already have the information listed, and what you'll need to do is listen to the problem, read it carefully, and decide what to do with this information. All right, so let's move on to number 3. Number 3, so for number 3, I'm actually going to make a separate video for number 3, so we'll just leave number 3 blank and we'll come back to that in just a little bit. Number 4. Number 4, you have the number 4 and 27, 4.27, and you are going to be rounding to the nearest tenth. So if I were rounding this number, one thing that I would do is I would actually underline, and I would circle, and I would also draw a number line. And I would think about the number that we are rounding to. So we're rounding to the nearest tenth, so I would go and I would label my places. So the 4 is in the ones place, the 2 is in the tenths place, and the 7 is in the hundredths place. And when we're rounding to the nearest tenth, I would always circle the digit in the tenths place and think about what the number next door says. So at this time, you can put your endpoints on your number line. You can think about what your midpoint would be and where you would fall on your number line to find the best answer. Moving on to number 5. Number 5 is a question about prime numbers. So for this question, I would get out my factor book and I would label the numbers. I would actually list the numbers and label the numbers. Okay? So list and label, think about the factors that give you the number. So is it factor rich? If it's factor rich, it has more than 2. It's going to be composite. If it's factor poor, only 2 factors. So that would be your prime numbers. Okay, that will help you with number 5. Moving on to number 6. It's another expression problem. And so we're going to write this together. We have 18 times 19 minus parentheses 12 divided by 3. Okay? And so for this problem, we're going to go ahead and write GMA. But I believe the only thing that you're going to need to do for this problem is think about what piece of this problem will you solve first? What piece of this problem will you solve first? Read your answer choices carefully when you get to number 6, and then you'll be able to find your answer easily. Moving on to number 7. For number 7, I know that everyone was able to make their own PVC. This is the white paper that we used our dry erase markers for. So for this problem, if you want to use your PVC, that's fine. Or if you want to just go ahead and make a PVC with me on the video right now, that would probably be the best. So I'm going to go ahead and make my decimal point, and knowing that behind my decimal point I have 3 places. So I have the 10th place that's right behind the decimal. I have the hundredths place, and then I have the thousandths place. In front of the decimal, we have our whole numbers. And so we have the ones, we have the tens, we have the hundreds, and we have the thousands. Using this place value chart will help you be able to locate and find the correct answer. And I believe on number 7, there just make sure you read carefully and choose wisely. Turning over to number 8. Number 8 is another expression problem. So let's go ahead and write this down together. We have T equals parentheses 9 times 6 parentheses minus 25 plus 2 parentheses 6. Okay? For this problem, you're going to need to do some solving. So I'm going to go ahead and write GMA. And to set it up correctly, I'm going to count my actions. I see multiply, I see subtract, I see add, and I see a snake in the grass. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 actions. 1, 2, 3, 4. That means it will take me 4 lines to get to my correct answer. So you're going to be solving for T. All right. For number 9, you're going to be doing some comparing. And for number 9, you're going to have 4 answer choices. So just like we practiced, I'm going to let you go ahead and write A, B, C, and D as a little window pane. And you're going to be comparing some information. So you would be writing it down, so something compared to something else. You're going to line up those decimals, and then you'll be able to decide if this is true or false. So you'll be looking for an answer that is not true for number 9. You'll be looking for not true. Okay, and you may even want to put looking for not true or false. I wrote not false. We're going to be looking for not true. That means a false answer. All right. And finally, number 10. Number 10 is also another GMA problem. So we're going to write that down together. We have 45 plus 3 parentheses 8 plus 4 divided by 2 parentheses. Okay? And again, before we get started, I'm going to count my actions. 1, I see a snake in the grass. 2, 3, 4. So that means we need 4 lines for solving. All right. And if you haven't already, go ahead and write G, M, A. All right, boys and girls, so there's only 10 problems. That means that each problem is worth 10 points. So by setting up your paper correctly with me, hopefully that will ensure that you are able to find the answers that you're looking for. Be sure to tune in for number 3 for some additional help. I'm going to do a video on number 3 separately because it's going to take a little bit more time. All right, do your best work, and I can't wait to see how you do. Good luck.